Hello.
Hello. Another month and another meeting that I have failed to get it together enough to reschedule to a better day.
What do you have a day in mind that you're thinking, or you haven't looked?
I can't remember. Discussed it a little bit after the last one, and I can't remember what we decided. Yeah, I don't remember. All the days are pretty difficult.
Yeah.
But, we'll pick one this time for sure. Hey, Mazdak, Nathan, welcome.
Thanks.
Good morning, Casey. Morning, evening, everyone.
Afternoon for Eric, or almost afternoon. It's 11 there.
Yep.
11, still morning. Just barely.
Almost lunchtime.
Well, I suppose we can get started. Eric, you want to take some notes for me?
Sure.
Thank you.
Want me to share too?
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, like I was saying, meant to reschedule this one to a better day, but did not, so we'll keep that on as a possibility for next time. Keep everybody on their toes. Probably should start with some release updates. What have we got there? I think we just did a 3.29.2 release
That's correct.
that had some bug fixes in it. Lance, do you know what was in that one?
Openshift 4.16 and 4.17 support, for example.
Oh, right, that had the manifest
Yes.
nonsense in it, where the custom resources were too large to fit into a secret.
Yep.
Yeah,
And I've just heard from Openshift that we are certified as well, so that's nice.
very nice. Yep, so 3.29.2 is out. I think there's still going to be more 3.29 releases coming down. We've got at least a couple outstanding issues that I know about, including some incompatibility with garbage collection, if I recall correctly. So yeah, I don't have a date for that yet, but I know there's another one coming.
I was just looking, and I don't know that we talked in here about the. Well, maybe we did. Maybe that's what this. I don't know. I was trying to see if there were any notes on the what we did with the CRDs.
We made operator install them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so previously we would just stick the custom resources in the Openshift manifest directory directly, but that was causing problems because the Openshift installer or one of the operators or something tries to put them into a secret, and the contents are too large for a single document in etcd, I believe, because they include some annotations and other things. And so we yeah, we have our operator install them now. And that's nice for a bunch of reasons. So we can keep them up to date in Helm installs as well. I think we did a tactical fix in 3.29 that just impacts OpenShift, but in 3.30 this will be rolled out more broadly to other platforms as well. Yeah, actually before 3.30, I think there's also a pending 3.28 release that's mostly just CVE fixes. That's probably early next week would be my guess. Yeah, 3.30 is going to have this CRD management change, which will be nice. 3.30 is actually a pretty big release and has some stuff in it that is relevant to you, Nathan. So we have a bunch of observability capabilities coming. We're going to have Calico producing flow data in order to be able to observe what flows are happening in the cluster and what policy actions are being taken on those flows. So you'll be able to get a better understanding of how your services are communicating to each other. This is going to come with an API, gRPC API that you can access to look at this data yourself, and an in-cluster, relatively simple to start, but an in-cluster UI that allows you to browse this data and look at it. So I'm pretty excited about it. It's going to be very cool. We've got good chunks of that merged right now. But it's still a work in progress. So you should be able to see those PRs flowing through.
Okay. No, that sounds cool. That was the PR that you sent on the. So sorry, I haven't been very active on Slack recently.
No, that's fine. I sent it. Yeah, that was a big chunk of it. I think that was if I recall correctly, that was the one that added the flow collection capabilities. There's there's a handful of data plane API changes, obviously, to implement this. The other,
and it's contract based. Sorry, I mean, interjecting. It's contract based on Linux and VPF as well, I guess.
Yes, I'm not less sure about the VPF side. Mazdak's here to say.
Yeah, so for BPF, the BPF program basically sends events to user space. So it's implemented differently in BPF, but BPF data plane also supports it.
Okay, so yeah, it's other map and okay. So great.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think it's going to be very useful, and I think it's going to be sort of the foundation for a lot of cool stuff moving forward. Sort of paired with this, we've got Mazdak's actually working on adding the concept of staged policies as well, which we had for some time in our enterprise product, but we wanted to introduce as part of this observability release. They allow you to write policies that aren't actually enforced in the cluster, but in combination with this flow data, you can see how they would impact connections in your cluster. So it allows you to sort of try out a policy without actually risking breaking your services. Once you're satisfied that it does the right thing, you can turn it into an actually enforced policy. Aztec, I'm not sure if there's any more you want to say about any of that. You've been the one on the ground.
So
in
yeah,
this one.
what you said was the summary of the stage policies. So Nathan, I think this is a stage policy is the one that actually touches data plane, the policy implementation. So it's probably something that you want to implement for VPP. And the implementation is pretty straightforward. Basically, for a stage policy, we prefix the name with some like predefined string, and when in data plane we see that, we just like skip it. So this is something that yeah, you should look into.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sounds really easy. Thanks.
Thanks, Lance. Half my keyboard was disconnecting and not working.
Yeah, so those are the real big tickets. A lot of work's going into these. Gonna be a pretty big release. I'm not sure if there are any other things to talk about here. Oh, this is we'll have load balancer IP allocation support as well. So I think we may have talked about those last time, but no longer a reliance on Metal LB in order to allocate load balancer IPs when you're advertising them with Calico. Yeah, we did. Yeah, so all that stuff that's down there is still coming. Expect that we'll be doing a code freeze probably in a month's time, would be my optimistic guess. And then probably a release a month after that.
And also baseline admin network policy is merged for 3.30, so the next release is going to be there.
Yes.
Sorry, Mazdak, what was that? I was.
The new admin network policy is called baseline admin network policy. That one is also going to be present in 3.30.
Yeah, okay. Are you sticking that in, Lance?
Just while we're on the topic of data plane API changes, I've got another small one that's coming in as part of a bug fix on the route API in Felix. We had this problem in VXLAN in particular, where if you used a particular block size, we got confused. So we couldn't tell if a route was a VXLAN tunnel IP or a remote workload. And in order to fix this, basically, we needed to change the route type field from just a single value to a set of values. So you could specify that this route represents both a VXLAN tunnel IP as well as a remote block, because routes can be multiple things. So type now has an S at the end of it and is a bitmap field instead of a single value. That PR is still in flight, but should be going in this week. It's PR 9698.
Say that again.
96.
No.
I know. Too many similar numbers.
Well, you said PR, and I was about to put PR dash. I was like, well, that doesn't make sense.
9698. So close.
9-6. What? 5. Wait. Shit.
Nines. There's no 5.
Oh, there's no 5. Where did I get 5?
There you go.
Thank you, Lance.
Anyone else have 330 stuff that I forgot about? Guess not. Nathan, anything you wanted to talk about on the VP side?
Sure, and actually not much those days. We're still working on adoption and yeah, and so less coding and more speaking, to say the least. But making progress. So yeah, we're hopeful that we'll be able to move back to features. And so in terms of features, we are a bit lagging behind. So I will probably not be able to have the full support of the
Yeah,
flow
the
capture and the stage policies. And we also lacking a bit behind on the baseline the new policies that you added for in 329. So yeah, that's a bit unfortunate, but yeah, that's how it is. And in terms of testing and troubleshooting, we are still working on to addressing the 2404 regression that we observed with so actually in kernels above 6.4, we see a performance regression due to the fact that the .io backend, the kernel tasks of the tabs have changed in the model, which basically the CPU pinning of the workloads is different, and hence we get a lot less performance than we used to. So we are working. We are seeing whether we can have a workaround for that. I think there is development in the kernel as well, going on for that. So we're tracking that as right now. So essentially the bottom line. So I don't want to go too much into the technical details, but there has been quite significant changes in kernels above 6.4, and we are trying to see how we can make extract the best of that and not wiggle around the regression that we saw.
Cool, yeah, thanks for that update. That it's kind of a fun time to be in that adoption speaking phase of a project.
Yeah.
But you don't want to stay there too long. You get
Yeah.
homesick for the code.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Do you know if
usually
you'll be at
talk about.
KubeCon EU?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Nathan, will you be at KubeCon?
KubeCon London, EU.
Yes.
It was in London. I won't attend this year.
Okay.
Yeah. You will understand. I assume. And
I
you
believe
will
so.
be attending. Okay.
I believe Sean and I will be attending at least.
Okay.
Did
And
Did John get a talk accepted? Do you know?
I don't actually.
Mine was turned down.
Oh.
Yeah, so Eric, do you know if we have any operator stuff to talk about?
I haven't been able to think of anything.
That's a no. Yeah, I think that's all I really had. Were there any issues that anybody wanted to bring up or questions or other topics? Seems like not. Yeah, I guess that's all for today. Keep an eye on all those PRs coming in for the observability stuff. It's pretty cool. It's not quite all there yet, but in the next week or two, I would expect master builds to be able to install and run all of this stuff together. So
A demo next time then?
yeah, maybe a demo next time. I'll definitely next time. It'll be a month from now, so better be. It'll be code freeze.
Awesome.
Exciting times. Thank you everybody for coming. I'll see you in a month.
Thanks.
Thanks. Talk to you in a month. Bye, everyone.